Happy Saturday, Connect fam, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Connect Network TV right here on the CW.
Yes, well, it is a very special episode today because we're talking about a topic that affects all of us: women's rights, progress, and the ongoing conversation around diversity, equality, and inclusion. And of course, March is Women's History Month, a time dedicated to celebrating the accomplishments of women throughout history. But do we know how it all started?
Let's start with a little her story lessons, ladies. Did you know that Women's History Month began as a single day? And it really all started with International Women's Day, first celebrated on March 8th, 1911. So the idea came from Clara Zetkin. So she's a German activist who proposed it at the International Socialist Women's Conference. This was actually in Copenhagen back in 1910. So a lot of history there. Did you guys know that?
That's amazing. I'm learning about this for the first time right here with you. So here in the US, it wasn't until 1978 that educators in Santa Rosa, California, launched Women's History Week to highlight women's contributions. President Jimmy Carter later declared the week of March 8th as National Women's History Week in 1980. But in 1987, Congress expanded it to a full month in March, officially designating it as Women's History Month. And since then, every president has issued proclamations honoring the achievements of women. And despite all of the political changes around diversity, equality, and inclusion, why do you think it's important to keep celebrating women's stories or women in power?
I think it's important because if we don't tell our stories, who is? And if we don't tell her story, then how do we ensure that it's going to be told accurately?
I mean, I just think that I look at the generations, right? Like we are inspired by the women that came before us. So we got to keep telling our stories and passing it on for all the generations to come.
Exactly.
I agree. Yes, I agree, Sandy. I think that we need to continue sharing their stories and our stories because, we each have something to share for the future generations to continue to pave the way and make history. And it reminds us that women have always been vital to shaping history, ladies, even if their contributions were often overlooked.
Right.
Celebrating this month ensures that we honor their achievements and inspire future generations to dream big. Will you be honoring any women in particular this month? And if you are, how will you do it?
I love celebrating the women in my life, my grandma, my mother-in-law, and my mom, and the ladies in my life. I'm so, so grateful for you ladies here. Yes. I mean, look, this is amazing. This is a community here that we get to have. So whether it's someone that you see every day, once a month or not so often, I think that it's important that it gives us a reason to celebrate and to reach out and, stay connected.
I definitely agree. The ones closest to you don't want to forget, but I specifically love Women's History Month because even with the outlets that we're, God's grace, we're able to have, we're able to highlight other women, other unsung heroes in our community and just dominating in their own fields and maybe in positions that people didn't know was held by a woman, and exposing other young women and men to women who are really hashtag what we call it's she's doing it. So this is one of my favorite portions that we're able to highlight other women and really push forward young female entrepreneurs as well with the great pitch and exposing people to the younger generation, because we're finding that there are middle schoolers, elementary school students, and high school students who are in business and they're starting their things and they doing the things, honey. So we want to be able to pour back into them. So I'm excited. And I want to put it out there. If you know of a young woman or a female entrepreneur out there, let us know about them. Every week within this month, we're giving away $1,000 to pour back into them. So hit us up. You can follow me at STICHIZ Stitches on IG. And of course, check it out, the Connect Network TV. So we going in this month, honey.
I love it. That's amazing. So good. Well, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. There's been a lot of debate about its impact, and there's been a significant shift in federal policy regarding gender and DEI initiatives, with potentially far-reaching effects on women across various sectors and demographics. Some of those changes include women in federal employment, the termination of all DEI-related offices and positions in federal agencies directly impacts women working in these roles. Women that depend on federal contracts are feeling the shifts as well, with the cancellation of affirmative action requirements for federal contractors, also known as Executive Order 11246, and women in STEM and leadership roles. The elimination of DEI programs could potentially slow progress in increasing women's representation in male-dominated fields and leadership positions. So, ladies, how do you see women overcoming these challenges when it comes to upward mobility in their careers or in entrepreneurship?
For me, I really think what I see happening now is women continuing to work as a collective and coming together and just moving as a unit, because you can get you can get quicker by yourself, but further together. So that's what I'm seeing from my viewpoint, is a lot of women are just continuing to work as a collective and trying to just moving forward. And that's that's the consistent messaging. It's like, hey, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing our work, and we're going to keep doing what we can do within our reach. So I don't know, ladies, what do you say?
I agree with you, Stitches, and not only other women, but a lot of employers. I've seen that they're continuing with this action as well. They really value. There's some that really do value, their employees, and they really value the DEI, and so they want to move forward. And there's been confusion, and uncertainty, but they're trying to figure out ways to work around the new policies that have taken place because they want to continue it.
Yeah. I also think that, women, we are so resilient. We figure things out, especially as entrepreneurs. I mean, that's literally the name of the game. So I think that no matter what happens, something that is in our favor or not, we will always find a way to figure it out and make it work. And I think as a collective, we also are championing again for not just ourselves, but all these generations to come. So I think that whatever is put into effect now, we're going to find a way to make it work and figure it out together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And I'm curious, have either of you ladies ever felt like your gender has gotten in the way of your value or possibly job opportunities?
Of course. I definitely, the positions that I've seen, I've seen how it could have, where people tried to rather, but I'm a believer and I stand firm that on what God has for me, God will make sure that I have, but I definitely have seen and been in situations where I've seen my counterparts. And I was just talking to a friend of mine as a DJ. She was experiencing just a pay difference where she was getting paid significantly less as her counterpart, but doing the same work and bringing the same amount of impact, but not getting paid the same. So I definitely see it. But for me, like you said, Sandy, we're resilient, and if this door is not it, I'm gonna find another door, or create my own door, because I now have the tools.
That's right.
So on that note, ladies, coming up next, we're highlighting some incredible women from history whose contributions really might surprise you. And we'll share how their legacies continue to inspire us even today. The past, the present, and the future.
Welcome back to the Connect Network TV. From trailblazing suffragists to modern day pioneers. Women's History Month is a time to honor the incredible contributions of women throughout history. But it's more than just a celebration. It's a call to action, reflection, and inspiration.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Sandy and Wendy. Let's talk about first business ownership and growth. Women own approximately today 39.1% of all U.S. businesses, totaling more than 14 million women-owned businesses and employing 12.2 million workers. I know that's some numbers, but there's more numbers. The numbers of women-owned businesses increased by 13.6%. from 2019 to 2023, which is nearly double the rate of our male counterparts. So here's the question. Why do you think that female entrepreneurship is so prevalent today? What do you think?
I have a hypothesis. So I think that I've seen so much, and you ladies can tell me what you think too. I think I've seen so much of the network marketing space, multi-level marketing space dominate the sector for moms, specifically stay-at-home moms. Whereas before, the only option was stay at home and raise your kids. There was a massive movement, maybe 10, 15 years ago, in the network marketing space where they highlighted the fact that you could be a stay-at-home mom and run a business. So these numbers, they actually don't surprise me, because just what I see with the clients that I work with in what they're doing and the spaces that they're working in, it goes to show you that these women, they are working and raising their babies and running their homes and doing all the things. Like, these numbers, they don't surprise me based on just that market alone. What do you guys think?
I agree with you 1,000%, Sandy. There's so many platforms. There's so many opportunities that have come, like you mentioned, from this big movement, and women being able to, we're multitaskers, and then when we have these opportunities to not only be stay-at-home moms, but also work and make money and still be able to take care of our family, like, we're going to do it. We're doing it. We're doing this thing, and it's just growing and just getting better. And, I am super excited for the women, the next generations of women, because I feel like they're going to even take it to a whole other level.
I agree, because even they're starting much, much younger now, and they have, I think, a bit more examples. And I wouldn't be surprised that 2020 had a great deal to do with it as far as the pandemic goes, because that was a complete global shift of men but a lot of women being forced and propelled into those ideas that you had it cuffed in you, but because you were doing other things or had the 9 to 5, you weren't able to do it. But the pandemic kind of forced people to pivot into, for a lot of people, not everyone, of course, a lot of people to really hone in on your gifts and how are you going to make money from home, thus leading to businesses.
Yeah,
that is so true, Stitches. I was also going to mention, the pandemic, because people just really use their talents, or women, and their creativity, and so many new businesses were born from that. But also going back, to history. And I just think of our mothers. I personally was not raised in a home where, business was ran or my parents were business owners, but I know my mom went out to work. She wanted to help and, to make a little bit of money. And then I just seeing her go out there and make, a little bit of money to help in the household. But then we took it to a whole next level of women. My sisters and I, we're not stay-at-home moms. We work out of the house. Some of us work from home. Some of us are business owners, but we've been able to raise our kids and do 2 to 3 times what our mother was able to do. So that really is exciting to me. Going back to history.
Well, and it's great that there's so many opportunities today.
Yep. And there's, like we said, there's examples, and that's why it's important I'm hoping people see this show as an inspiration to kickstart your business or that idea, or support someone who does have one, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, let's talk a few more numbers. So, if you look at the economic impact as of 2024, these women-led businesses also generate 2.7 trillion in revenue. And I also found this industry trend interesting. Half of all women-owned businesses are concentrated in 4 industries. So it all boils down to 4 major industries: professional services, healthcare, retail, and food services. So why do you think that is? Like, why those 4?
I think those 4 are necessary. You got, what do they call it? Essentials. Going back to the pandemic, those were the essential things. Even here in Florida, Sandy, you know, there were certain things that just were not closed. And you have restaurants, a lot of them were not closed. And you had medical places that were not closed. So I think because some of those things are essentials, or people would consider essentials. What do you think, Wendy?
I consider them essentials. Like, I love professional services, you know, my hair being done and, you know, things like that, being a woman. I love retail, shopping. Who doesn't love shopping? I'm just trying to keep it light here, ladies. But yeah, they definitely are. And, you know, for 2025, the most recent data available shows that women-owned businesses made up nearly 2 in 5 U.S. businesses. Yet we only generated about 5% of the total national firm revenue in 2023. This figure highlights the significant disparity that still exists between women-owned and men-owned businesses in the terms of revenue generation, despite the increasing number of women-owned businesses. So based on these numbers, what are women getting right? And where can we improve, ladies?
So, okay, so we only generate about 5.8% of the total national firm revenue. And the figures are saying that there's a significant disparity that still exists. So look, we have to, unfortunately, there's still a gap there, right? That's what that's telling me. So I feel like because we're dominating in those 4 sectors, to me, that also means that there's an opportunity for us to stand up and speak up and take action. So I think that it's a matter of what I see personally, working with a lot of women, is it's having the space to be able to say, like, I deserve more for this. Because just like Stitches was saying, there could be a male counterpart that is getting paid more, but same position. Right. So I feel like just knowing the stats and knowing the numbers helps to put more education so we can close that gap.
I agree. And I want to even charge our male counterparts to also speak up, because I did have some men in my life that saw when certain things weren't right, and they didn't sit around and let it bypass them. So I would like to charge our men. We need you too. We're not going to sit up here and say we don't need you. We love you and we need you.
That's right.
I think it is important when you see it and it's wrong and off, to not just sit by and watch it, because women are now more in the space, like we said, ladies, to speak up and to just. I got to preface by saying this before, when I mentioned about my friend who saw that she wasn't getting paid the same, she had to honestly decline a job. And you have to be ready to say, like, hey, I know my worth. There's certain opportunities that you want to take and to build from. And then there's certain things you just got to know, like, hey, no, I know my worth. I know what I can bring to the table. And there will be something else that will come.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, as we continue to honor women in history, while we often hear about iconic figures like Susan B. Anthony or Rosa Parks, there are countless unsung heroes whose stories deserve recognition too. For instance, did you know about Mary C. Cole? She was a Jamaican nurse who cared for soldiers during the Crimean War. Despite being overshadowed by Florence Nightingale at the time, her contributions were just as vital.
That's good, Sandy. But what about Grace Hopper? She was a computer scientist who actually developed one of the very first compilers for computer programming languages, paving the way ultimately for modern computing as we know it today.
And ladies, let's not forget Anne Conley. She invented the fire escape. Everyday innovations like these often go unnoticed, but have saved countless lives.
And fast forward to today, women continue to break barriers across industries. Take Misty Copeland, for example, the first African American woman to be named principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater. Or Stacey Abrams, a political powerhouse who has become one of America's most prominent voices for voting rights and social justice.
And I can't forget you two ladies and our executive producer, Natalie Cargile, who's in charge of this programming and had the vision. God gave her the vision to start this. So there's some present women as well. But one of my favorite parts about Women's History Month is really how it inspires future generations. Like we've been talking about, ladies, young girls learning about these incredible achievements, whether it's Katherine Johnson calculating trajectories or trajections for NASA, or Malala Yousafzai fighting for girls' education. They see what's possible for themselves.
It also challenges ladies' stereotypes and encourages young women to pursue careers in fields where they've historically been underrepresented, like science, technology, engineering, and math.
So, ladies, question: how do you think parents can really use Women's History Month to inspire their daughters? Parents, caretakers, or anyone who is in the midst of young girls. How can we use that to inspire our daughters?
Yeah, well, I don't have daughters, but I do have nieces and cousins and women around me that I love. And, I think that it's taking their stories and sharing those stories with our daughters, people that, the women in our life or the girls in our life that we love and care about. And also, I think what's really great, because I do this with my boys, but on the flip side of things, I ask them, I like to bring in their imagination, especially because I have two littles. I love to share that as an example, their stories, and then get them thinking big about what's something out of the box, that they've seen that person do that was inspiring, that they can take action on or they can look for in their own lives. So I think that really pulls it in and gives them the opportunity to not think it's so far out of reach for where they are, right, and give them an opportunity to create within their own space.
I
think I think you nailed it, Sandy. Just, sharing the stories, telling the stories, and maybe, finding out, and by questioning them, how can you use your creativity and take it to a whole other level and be like these inspiring women and create history. And these are all the stories that we need to tell. Stitches, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much, Wendy. And something, I don't know if this was already said, but maybe even finding out the history within our own families. Mm-hmm. Like finding out who was that trailblazer, whether if it was a grandmother who was the first to do this. And it could be very simple, but I think once we do that, it will allow whether male or female to tap into a gift that they have, like, oh, well, this isn't foreign because my great-great-grandmother did this, or even my uncle or my cousin did this. I found out one of my uncles was a great politician in Haiti, or a great lawyer. And it's like when you start to see there was someone before you, even if it was one, it starts to it allows your mind to go further.
Absolutely.
And even if there is none, I will say this as well, ladies, and then we'll move on. But if you can't find anyone in your family, I think it's important to share with the little ones, like you said, send the littles, to share with them that if there is no trace in the family, maybe they have been assigned to be the first.
That's so good. That's so good. And actually what you said, Stitches, I think is really important, because I saw my grandmother as like the matriarch of our family run a business, a real estate business with my grandfather, be a teacher, raise a family of 4 boys, which I can't even imagine, do all of these things that I look to her and I'm like, wow, like this is someone who did it. And to me, that's just something that I even achieved to aspire to be a little bit of what she, could accomplish, because to me, she was like such a pioneer woman of her time.
That's beautiful.
It is. I love that, Sandy. That's amazing that you have someone to inspire you and, to take after. Well, ladies, up next, we are shining a light on female inventors you probably didn't know about. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm Fern Malice. I was the creator of New York Fashion Week, and now I have a consulting business. And I'm also the author of Fashion Icons by Fern Malice. And I have books 1 and 2, which are fabulous, full of great interviews. You can buy the book set at Nordstrom or buy the books independently at Amazon or other great booksellers. You can follow me on Instagram and find out more about my events and everything I'm doing. It's at Fern Malice. And I'm happy to be here on the Connect Network TV.
Welcome back, Connect family. Okay, so it's time for our rapid fire round. Today, we spotlight amazing women inventors who have changed our lives in ways that you might not even realize. You ladies ready?
Let's go.
First up, Mary Anderson. She invented windshield wipers in 1903. And ladies, before that, people had to drive in the rain with zero visibility. Thank you, Mary Anderson.
Next, Margaret Knight. She created the paper bag machine in 1871. Before that, bags were just flimsy envelopes.
Okay, moms. This one is for you. Marion Donovan invented the first disposable diaper in the 1950s. No more endless laundry.
Thank you, Marion. Okay, speaking of game changers, Dr. Patricia Bath invented laser cataract surgery in 1988. Millions of people can see because of her.
And there's more. The last one for today. Josephine Cochrane created the dishwasher. This was actually in 1886 because she was tired of washing dishes.
Amen.
That's a wrap for today, Connect Fam. What an incredible show and conversation. We hope that you were too inspired. We covered so much, ladies, from the origins of Women's History Month to DEI policies, impact of women, and the amazing inventions created by women throughout history. Cheers.
That's right, Stitch. Cheers to that. And if you're feeling inspired and want to keep the momentum going, learn more at womenshistory.org or support organizations that uplift and empower women in your community. Of course, tap into our IG and connect with us to share more at the Connect Network TV.
And remember, you can catch all our past episodes by binge watching them Netflix style on our website at theconnectonline.com. In the meantime, keep up with me on Instagram at Gone with the Windy. And Stitches and Sandy, where can they find you, ladies?
Sure. You guys can find me at Sandy Glant. It's Sandy with an I, Sandi Glant, or at Slay Your Day Official.
And yes, you can find me at STICHIZ Stitches on all social media platforms. If you're in various states, you could tap into iHeartRadio. You might hear a familiar voice. And if you're in Canada, you might hear a familiar voice on Sportsnet. Thank you so much, ladies. God bless. Stay beautiful. Tell somebody you love them while they could hear it and receive it. And show love to that special woman in your life, yeah? If you didn't hear it all day. Love you for